Hello, John Bloodworth, Gentleman Crafter here with some more explorations in mixed media. Now, I didn't have too much time this week and I was a bit lacking in mojo, so I thought it was time to get back to the Gelli Plate. Just before I do that though, I just wanted to show you that I've recently got myself some artist trading card storage, which I've put the batch that I made last time plus the batch that I made this time in so far. So I'll try and add to this over the coming months, and hopefully by the end of it I can show you through everything that we've done. Might be an idea if you do one too, if you're following along. Okay, so Gelli Plate. Starting out with a heavy body acrylic paint. So heavy body is basically an acrylic paint that will dry retaining its texture and form, whereas a soft body will sink into a slightly flattened version of its original thing. Think of heavy body as toothpaste. You know how you squeeze it out onto the toothbrush and it stays in shape? That's a heavy body acrylic. Now, I've been around the garden this morning as things are starting to sort of come out and grow and stuff, and picked a few bits and pieces. There's not a huge variety, but I got enough to have a go with so that I could pull some prints. So basically I've just put a couple of leaves down on the Gelli Plate on the paint, pulled a print from the top, and then when I remove the leaves, obviously the vein texture remains on the Gelli Plate. Dry this off and then basically go in with another layer of paint. And the goal here would be to pull the print of the leaf along with the layer of paint that I'm just putting down. So a fresh sheet of paper, putting that down, rubbing it all over quite firmly to make sure the paper comes in contact with the paint, and then pulling. Oh, a nice clean pull, and all of the texture from those leaves on that print. Perfect. Okay, so going back in with some more heavy body paint, this time a nice bright pink. In fact, I don't think there are any non-heavy body paints that I'm using in this batch. I sat for about an hour doing this. I have chopped it down for the benefit of YouTube and for the fact that you probably want to watch a quick version. But yes, so I've cherry-picked some of the things that I thought worked really well. I will obviously end up using every print, but I thought just things that really showed different textures and different techniques would make it into this week's video. So some ivy leaf prints next. Ooh, I like that. That would be good to overprint onto, so I'll leave that to dry. Pulling off the ivy leaves. There's plenty of that in the garden. Oof. Mind you, for some months it's about the only greenery. Now I'm using a hairdryer to speed up the drying process, and I'm using it on cold. It's not a great idea to apply heat to the Gelli Plate, but a cold setting hairdryer is fine because it's just basically blowing cold air, like you would do if you're wafting it with a bit of paper. And the goal here is to basically make sure all of the acrylic paint is dry. The next layer that you put down will generally be what will actually reactivate that paint or come into contact with it and bind it to the paper that you're going to do the pull on. Now I'm using some diner paints here, and diner paints are generally slightly translucent and have a shimmer effect attached as well. Attached? Included. You know what I mean. Okay, so good print there. So we've got the iridescence of that diner paint along with the brightness of the pink. Next up, going in with a bit of purple. Some people that I've spoken to find it tricky to know how much paint to put on. generally a marrow fat pea sized. I don't know what that would be, a small marble. And I'm just pulling a print, by the way, there with some packaging. And then doing an immediate pull, not letting that layer dry. But yes, the quantity of paint. Basically, you want a very, very, very thin layer, almost translucent, on your Gelli plate in order to get a good pull, or a clean pull. As you can see, if there is a little bit too much paint, sometimes it will leave some behind. Of course, you can pull a second print with this, or even allow it to dry and then spread another layer of paint over the top and pull it up with that. Each successive print might include a bit of the last print, but that is all part of the magic and part of the lovely effect that you get with this technique. If you find pushing down or rubbing down with your hands uncomfortable, you can always use a second brayer. Probably saw me earlier using the brayer I'd used for the paint, but that just gets paint all over the back. And there you can see, you get some of the previous print, so it's almost like a ghost image or something left behind when you've stripped wallpaper. Now I'm going to use a gold paint for this, and this is the kind of gold that has an iridescent inclusion. I've probably used a bit too much there. Probably could have got away with half of that. But we shall see. Now I'm going to use a smaller kind of bubble wrap here. Just lay it down, press all over, and then pull up. And you can see all of that texture included there. I'm doing an immediate pull. I was going to do it on a previous pull, but I decided not to and just went with a fresh sheet. Whee! And yes, you can see there is some gold left behind, but that will come up in a later print. Skipping ahead, just using some green here. And you can see how little I put on that one. It was just literally a small marble sized, but I got a full 9x12 coverage. Gonna put down a twig that I yanked off a bush. Don't worry, there's plenty of other bushes still around. There's a few less trees since the storms came, but thankfully that will also mean we've got more firewood in a couple of years. Hurrah! Okay, so I've done a pull with the branch on the Gelli plate, pulled the paper and the branch off, and now doing a pull with just what was left. How cool is that? Look at all that texture. Some of these papers I'll probably use in future projects. Some of them will just end up as ATCs. Really, what you do with yours is entirely up to you. Okay, just showing you now, just randomly using odd objects. This was like a 40p comb from a pound shop, or not a pound shop because it wouldn't be 40p. Just a cheapo comb to create texture and then do a pull. And using that idea, we can go on and create all sorts of patterns. Use the tips of the comb to draw circles and concentric circles. Use them to drag wavy lines through the paint. You do have to work quite quickly because the paint obviously will dry as it's quite a thin layer. So don't think of trying to do anything too artistic. You're just basically making impressions. Oh, I like that one. How cool is that? And there's still a bit left over. I'm not going to clean the Gelli plate. I'm just going to go back in with another layer. And I'll go back in this time and do some lines. And I think I'll put that on the one that I created earlier with the lines on. There you go, and that's pulled up everything from the last couple of prints. Perfect, look at that. Lots of detail going on there. Okay, let's have a look at what we do next. Just while I'm putting this layer of paint down, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help other people get to see these videos, and really helps me as a channel to grow. Thanks for everybody that's already done it. And of course, if you have any comments, questions or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments section below the video on YouTube or on my blog. Now I'm going back in with a previous print to pull the next print. Ooh, very psychedelic. I like it. You can see how quickly that you can create lots of different styles of prints. And of course, if this is something you want to do on a regular basis, you could create a little library in an ATC folder like I showed you earlier in the video. Okay, just using the comb to do short wavy patterns here, and going back in a third time onto that linear print. Each time you do something, you're adding different detail and different layers, so that you give the eye plenty to see. There's the thinking finger. Bit of purple. Again, as thin a layer as possible. Pulling another print with that bubble wrap. And I'm putting that on top of the three previous prints. There you go. Love it. Might use these papers for some collage ideas in the future. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.